So here we are, moving along the docket. What is next on the list of Golden Age Captain America stories? Well, did I ever tell you the story of when Captain America went to Hollywood? Well, he didn't exactly go to Hollywood, but he did land a role in a major motion picture from a world-famous director. This director has a wonderful vision for a beautiful film. But unfortunately, some less than savory characters want to get involved and ruin it for everyone. So now, Captain America himself is going to decide to get involved to save the picture. And that's exactly what happens in The Hunchback from Hollywood. As we can see here, the Hunchback has menacing intent, and it's up to Cap and Bucky to shine a light on the situation. We can also see this story features an old creepy castle and a few death scenes that are just too real for the camera. So what's going to happen? Is Cap going to win the day, or will the Hunchback ruin the movies for everybody? Let's find out. Right off the bat, we learn the movie producer has been receiving death threats because of his new picture. It's a fantasy film set in medieval times, but the forces of fascism are rallying against the film because its themes have parallels to modern politics. However, the movie producer decides to ignore these threats because he believes that the film is important and needs to get made. Of course, we can see at the end of the page, the Hunchback character doesn't like that one bit. I want to note specifically that the movie producer mentions the themes of the movie specifically. They are democracy versus dictatorship, and the plot revolves around a group of free men who are battling against a tyrant. Of course, this does parallel what was happening during World War II, so it makes sense that he would receive death threats for this. I'm sure it was commonplace back then. And now we can see just in the blink of an eye how easy it is for the Hunchback to track down the movie producer and murder him for his patriotic beliefs. Meanwhile, Cap and Bucky are up to their usual shenanigans over at Camp Lehigh. In fact, word on the street is that they're shooting some kind of big picture, and all the soldiers are going to get jobs as extras in the film. Luckily, Mr. Steve Rogers with his super soldier enhanced physique landed a role as a gallant knight, which makes the other soldiers jealous. Likewise, Sergeant Duffy, a common side character who acts as a sort of comedic relief, gets cast as a jester, and everyone has a good laugh about it. If I never mentioned Sergeant Duffy before, it's not because he's not important. He often makes appearances in many of Cap's stories as a sort of foil for Steve Rogers. He does comic relief and often caps the end of stories with a joke. You know, you think of him as the J. Jonah Jameson type character. He's always angry, and he exists in this perpetual state of disgust at Steve Rogers' laziness. So he's always trying to whip Steve into shape while never realizing that he's secretly Captain America. So now they're going to film a scene. It's a jousting tournament in which Steve is going to joust against another actor. However, unknown to anyone, an accident occurs. During the joust, someone lets off an arrow and it pierces the actor's armor, killing him instantly. Cap and Bucky immediately realize that this is the work of some sort of evildoer, and they jump into action. They track down the killer, who appears to be some kind of Robin Hood type character, but before they can beat the truth out of him, the Hunchback appears and spears him right in the back. Cap notices the Hunchback as none other than the famous horror actor Boris Karloff. Okay, so for those who didn't catch it, that was not such a subtle play on the real-life famous actor Boris Karloff, who famously portrayed Frankenstein's monster as well as several other notable characters during the golden age of Universal horror pictures. Also, if you look closely at the panels, the drawings even look very much like the man did in real life. Cap and Bucky corner the Hunchback, but unfortunately, the castle set was not designed to withstand such a titanic battle, and it begins to fall apart, leaving Cap in a pile of rubble and giving the Hunchback ample opportunity to make his escape. So then everyone charges down Boris Karloff's trailer and accuses him of the murders. However, he seems to know nothing of the situation and he denies any involvement. In fact, he states that there are actually two Hunchback costumes, so it's possible that he could be framed. Then the director jumps in and expresses that Boris is the greatest actor since Lon Chaney, and they need him or the picture will fail. Then he goes berserk and punches the studio detective in the face as Boris tries to make a run for it. Bucky also refers to Boris as Frankenstein, which is weird. There are so many references, for those who don't know, They name dropped Lon Chaney, who was a famous actor who contributed greatly to the silent era of film. Except they don't bother to change his name. I think the reason is because he had, at this point, been dead for decades by the time this has been published, so there was no chance of them getting sued, to my understanding. Meanwhile, while all this is happening, the real Hunchback shows up in the starring actress's dressing room and attempts to strangle her to death, but not before Captain America shows up to pummel him. In a desperate attempt to escape, the Hunchback hides in the castle set, which I thought had collapsed. I don't know, maybe it's a different castle. Either way, this results in a siege. Nobody can reach the Hunchback, and it looks like he may actually get away with his crimes. That is until Captain America gets the great idea to launch himself using one of the catapults. And it works! They strap him in and launch him over the castle wall. Inside the castle, he meets up with famous actor Greg Talbot. Cap is immediately suspicious, as Talbot explains he was only here because he found a way inside. Then Cap discovers the Hunchback's costume hidden in the shadows, and Talbot immediately turns face, admitting that he was the killer the whole time. So just another note here, Greg Talbot is an actor who was made specifically for this issue. He only appears here, and he has no relation to Colonel Glenn Talbot, who would later appear in the Silver Age and was a common enemy of the Incredible Hulk. But who knows? Perhaps they just happen to have the same name, or maybe they're part of the same family in some capacity. Greg could have even been Glenn's father or grandfather. The timelines, they do sync up that way. Talbot and Cap get into a fencing battle. Talbot starts the monologue about his evil plans. Like always, it turns out he was actually a member of the Third Reich, and he was trying to destroy the film in honor of Hitler. Then the studio detective shows up and hears the entire confession. He then arrests Talbot while Cap and Bucky make their escape. All is well that ends well now that the Hunchback is gone, and the movie studio can get back to safely shooting its picture. So that's it for this story. I loved it. I loved all the little references to film history and all the small connections it has to the greater Marvel storyline. That's why I chose it for this series. I thought it was sort of a more unique Cap story that stands out above the others. Anyway, now we're moving on to the next one. Cap is about to face off against a gang of homeless Nazis. Seriously, they call themselves the Unholy Legion. Just trust me, you want to stick around for that one. It's crazy. So go ahead and get your ass subscribed so we can read it together. Until next time, nerds, stay heroic.